My daughter Angela whispered, "Happy birthday, Mom," with the same painted-on smile she reserved for church fundraisers and PTA meetings she secretly loathed. Meanwhile, her husband, Robert, was doing a slow, calculating scan of the room, his eyes tallying up my elderly friends like an auctioneer assessing livestock. My grandson Leo, all 28 years of him, with his father's sharp mind and my late husband's kind eyes, leaned into my shoulder. His breath was warm against my ear. "Get your handbag, Gran. We're leaving. Now. Don't let your smile drop." The champagne flute in my hand, a nice brute from a vineyard Walter and I had visited, suddenly weighed a ton. "Where are you listening from today? Somewhere cozy, I hope. Drop your location in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button." I thought Leo was being dramatic. He'd been overly protective since his grandfather, my Walter, passed 3 years ago. But when his fingers closed around my elbow, knuckles white as bone, and he began steering me toward the fire exit of the Riverside Community Hall, a cold, solid dread settled in my stomach. This wasn't anxiety. This was the fear of a man who has seen the monster and knows its shape. "Leo, what in heaven's name?" I whispered as we wove through the crowd of my dearest friends. The room was a symphony of pastels and polite laughter for my 80th birthday. I was resplendent in my lavender dress, the center of a universe of women I'd known for 50 years. It was perfect. It was a beautiful gilded cage. "Not here, Gran. Just walk. Smile at Mrs. Henderson. Good. Now keep walking." I've seen that look on Leo's face only twice before. Once at 14, when he found his first girlfriend kissing his best friend. Once in the hospital hallway, the night the doctor told us Walter's heart had lost its rhythm for good. Both times, the world fractured. I knew, with a certainty that chilled my champagne, it was about to happen again. He locked the car doors with a definitive thunk. The party glowed on behind us, a diorama of normalcy. My Angela was cutting the magnificent 3-tiered cake. Robert was pouring more sherry. Everything was a lie. "Gran," Leo said, turning to me. His hands, usually so steady as he worked on his architectural models, were trembling. "Something is very, very wrong. I need to tell you what I heard." "You're frightening me, Leo." "Good," he said, grim as a winter morning, "because what I heard scared the hell out of me." He pulled out his phone. On the screen was a voice memo, time-stamped 45 minutes earlier. "I went to fetch your shawl from Angela's car. They were in the parking lot by the dumpster. They thought they were alone." They, Angela and Robert, my daughter and her husband, who had so generously handled all the party planning, who had been so concerned. His thumb hovered over the play button. "Before I play this, you need to know something. After we hear it, we drive straight to the police station. No calls, no confronting them. Whatever they've done, we let the law handle it. Do you understand?" I looked at my grandson's face, etched with a seriousness that belonged to a soldier, not a young man. I saw my Walter in the set of his jaw. The decision crystallized within me, hard and clear. "Play it." The audio was crisp in the quiet car. Angela's voice. "She signed them this morning, didn't she?" Robert's voice. "Power of attorney is now officially yours. The old bird thinks it was just utility paperwork." My blood turned to ice. I had signed papers this morning. Angela had said it was to consolidate my water and electric bills. She'd been so patient, so helpful. "Robert, the facility deposit clears Monday. Once she's in, we can list the house. Market's hot. We're looking at $500,000, easy." $500,000 for my little bungalow. The home where I'd raised Angela, where Walter had built the porch swing, where every crack in the plaster held a memory. Angela, what if she fights it? Robert, she won't have a choice. I've got Dr. Evans ready to sign off on dementia. Paperwork's already drafted. A danger to herself. Dr. Evans, my physician of 20 years, a man who'd held my hand when Walter died. Leo stopped the recording. The silence was louder than the words. "There's more," he said, his voice hollow. "They're planning to drug you tonight. Robert has something in his jacket. They want you confused, disoriented, to make their story stick before anyone can question it." I stared through the windshield. My Angela, my little girl. She wasn't planning theft. She was planning an erasure. "We have to go back in there," I said, my voice surprisingly firm. "Gran, no. We call the police first. She's safe while she's the star of the show. The moment that party ends—" He didn't need to finish. The moment the party ended, I would cease to be Eleanor Frost and become Patient E. Frost, a confused old woman in need of secure confinement. He was right. The realization was a physical ache. "Make the call." As Leo spoke to the 911 dispatcher, another, more vicious thought occurred to me. If they could do this to me, what else were they capable of? What other lines had they already crossed? The police arrived quietly, 2 patrol cars and a detective in an unmarked sedan. Detective Miller, a woman with tired eyes and a no-nonsense manner, listened to the recording with a face of stone. "Mrs. Frost," she said, "we'll have plainclothes officers inside in minutes. I need you and Leo to go back in. Act normal. Do not tip them off. Your job is to be the guest of honor, nothing more." "And if they try to give her something?" Leo asked. "My officers will intervene, but you must not try to be heroes, understood?" Walking back into the hall felt like stepping onto a stage for a play whose ending I now knew. The warmth felt false. The laughter sounded tinny. Angela descended on us immediately, a vision of concerned perfection. "Mama, there you are. We were worried." "Just a touch of air, darling," I said, amazed at the lightness in my tone. Leo was seeing to me. I watched her. Really watched her. The way her eyes darted to Robert, the slight tension in her shoulders. She was performing, and for the first time I could see the seams in the costume. The evening became a surreal ballet. I smiled, I thanked people, I accepted hugs, all while my heart hammered a frantic rhythm against my ribs. Leo was my shadow, a silent, watchful guardian. Then Angela approached with a small, elegant box. "A little something for your nerves, Mama, that gardenia tea you adore. It'll help you sleep later." Gardenia tea, my favorite. How thoughtful. How perfectly, horribly thoughtful. I took the box. How sweet. Let's have some now. A flicker of panic in her eyes. "Oh, not now. It's for later, at home." "Nonsense," I said, my smile unwavering. "I'd love a cup. Leo, be a dear and ask the kitchen for hot water." The polite tug of war over the tea box was a silent battle waged with smiles. I won. Leo took the box away to prepare it, and I saw Robert's jaw tighten from across the room. Next came Dr. Evans, looking avuncular and out of place. "Eleanor, just wanted to say happy birthday and check in. These big days can be taxing. How's the memory holding up?" The gall of it, using my birthday as a pretext for an impromptu competency test. "My memory is fine, Alan," I said, my voice cool. "I remember you recommending those terrible statins last year. I also remember you telling Walter his cough was just allergies 3 months before his lung cancer diagnosis. My memory is excellent." He blanched. The game was becoming dangerous. It was during the cake cutting, me standing with the silver knife poised over the vanilla buttercream, everyone singing, that the lights died. Not a flicker. A total, plunging blackout. Emergency lights bathed the room in a sickly red glow. In the confusion, I felt a strong hand clamp around my arm. Robert's. "Time to go, Eleanor. Let's get you to some air." He began pulling me toward a side exit, not the main doors where people were calmly evacuating. "Let go of me, Robert. Don't be difficult, it's for your safety." That's when Detective Miller materialized from the shadows, her badge catching the red light. I think you should let go of her, Mr. Hayes. The look on Robert's face, shock, then fury, was all the confirmation I needed. The power outage wasn't an accident. In the security office, under the harsh fluorescent lights, the truth tumbled out. The gardenia tea sachets contained a powerful sedative. Robert's jacket pocket yielded unmarked pills. Dr. Evans, confronted, crumbled, and admitted to drafting false medical reports for a consultant's fee. But it was Angela's confession, delivered through heaving sobs, that carved the deepest wound. "We're drowning, Mama. Robert's business, in the debts. Your house is just sitting there. We thought we'd just move you somewhere nice, sell the house, and use the money to start over. You'd be cared for." I looked at my daughter, her perfect makeup in ruins. "You thought you'd drug me, commit me, steal my home, and call it care?" She had no answer. The legal machinery ground into motion. Arrests, restraining orders, the raw, gaping hole where my family had been. In the numb weeks that followed, Leo moved into my spare room. We existed in a quiet bubble of shared trauma. My bungalow, once a place of warmth, felt like a crime scene. One afternoon, seeking solace, I dragged an old trunk from the attic. Walter's trunk. It was filled not with junk, but with files, meticulous, obsessive files. Walter had been a history professor, and this was his life's unfinished work, a study of our town's founding families through their personal letters. As I lifted a bundle of letters tied with faded ribbon, a photograph fluttered out. A young couple, late 1800s, standing stiffly in front of a homestead. On the back, in spidery cursive, Eleanor and Thomas Dawson, 1888. Lost the farm to his brother's deceit. Another letter detailed a widow fighting her in-laws for custody of her children. Another, a son cheating his elderly mother out of her land. Story after story of betrayal, often dressed in the fine clothes of family duty or for your own good. A cold, clear understanding washed over me. What Angela and Robert did wasn't new. It was an old, old story. Greed wearing the mask of care, the strong preying on those they deemed weak. I looked at Leo, who was watching me with concern. "This," I said, gesturing to the sea of paper, "isn't just history. It's a blueprint." "A blueprint for what, Gran?" "For what they almost did." "And," I said, a new fierce energy igniting in my chest, "for how to stop it from happening to anyone else." We turned the second bedroom into a study. Leo built shelves. I catalogued. We called it the Frost Archive, a collection dedicated not just to local history, but to documenting the patterns of familial exploitation. Our first case found us almost by accident. Mrs. Gable, a spry 88-year-old from my bridge club, mentioned her grandson was suddenly very interested in her will and kept bringing her supplement smoothies that made her foggy. It was the same pattern. The sudden interest in finances, the introduced confusion. With Mrs. Gable's permission, Leo recorded a conversation. We took our evidence to Detective Miller, who was now heading a new elder fraud task force. The grandson was arrested with a briefcase full of forged documents. Word spread quietly among my network of old ladies. We became a whispered about resource. The gray-haired resistance, Leo called us. Our work drew attention. The wrong kind. We began uncovering connections. A shady family asset consultant named Victor Croft, a few corrupt care home managers, a lawyer with a knack for fast-tracked guardianships. One night, my car window was smashed. Nothing stolen, just a note left on the driver's seat. "Stop digging. You're too old for this." It wasn't a threat that frightened me. It was an admission that we were effective. "They're scared of you, Gran," Leo said, boarding up the window. "Good," I replied. "They should be." We helped a retired judge get out of a predatory care facility. We assisted a war veteran reclaim his stolen pension. Each victory was a balm, but the shadow of Angela's betrayal never fully lifted. Then, a breakthrough. One of Croft's former employees, facing charges herself, agreed to talk. She gave us a ledger, a digital file listing clients, payments, and methods. Angela and Robert's names were there, but they were small fish. The ledger pointed to something bigger, a network that operated across 3 counties. The call came on a Tuesday. A man with a smooth, expensive voice. "Mrs. Frost, my name is Martin Thorne. I represent interests who are impressed by your work. We'd like to discuss a consultancy role, a retainer to guide your archive's focus toward more historical matters." It was a bribe, a beautifully wrapped legal bribe to look the other way. "My focus is just fine where it is, Mr. Thorne." A pity. The legal system can be so hard on amateur activists, especially elderly ones whose own family history is complicated. The threat was clear. They would use Angela's case against me, paint me as a bitter, unstable woman on a crusade. 2 days later, Angela showed up at my door. She was out on bail, awaiting sentencing. She looked thin, haunted. "Mama, I need to talk to you." Leo moved to block the door, but I gestured him back. 5 minutes. She didn't ask to come in. She stood on the porch, wringing her hands. "They approached me. Croft's people. They said if I testified that you were always paranoid, that you pressured me into those power of attorney papers because you were confused, they could make my charges disappear. Robert would walk. We could start over." The air left my lungs. Even now they were trying to use her as a weapon against me. "What did you tell them, Angela?" She looked up, and for a fleeting second I saw my little girl in her eyes. "I told them to go to hell." It wasn't forgiveness. It was a fact. A single, solitary point of light in the darkness she'd created. The ledger gave Detective Miller what she needed for wiretaps. They were planning a major operation, fast-tracking a dozen elderly people into a chain of care homes Croft secretly owned. We helped set the sting. I, with my impeccable reputation as a sweet old lady, would express interest in one of the homes for a friend. Leo, the concerned grandson, would wear a wire. The meeting at Sunset Haven was a masterpiece of deception. Plush carpets, smiling staff, a tour that highlighted safety and comfort. The administrator, a woman with a voice like syrup, slipped seamlessly into the script. At her age, with her assets, a simple medical assessment is all it takes to ensure she's somewhere secure. We handle everything. Families find such peace of mind. It was all recorded, every veiled suggestion, every mention of expedited assessments. As we left, Detective Miller's team moved in. Victor Croft was arrested in his oak-paneled office. The network began to unravel. The courtroom was packed. News vans lined the street. Elder fraud ring busted by grandmother and grandson. We were a feel-good headline, but inside, it felt like anything but. Angela and Robert stood before the judge. He got 10 years. She got 5, with a chance at parole, for her cooperation against Croft. She looked at me once from the defendant's table. There were no tears this time. Just a profound, exhausted regret. I gave a small, barely perceptible nod. It wasn't acceptance. It was acknowledgement. Of the path she chose and the one she finally refused. Afterwards, Detective Miller found me. "Because of you and that archive, we've identified over 30 victims. We're unpicking guardianships, returning homes. You started a revolution, Mrs. Frost." Leo got into law school. Elder law, of course. The Frost Archive became a formal nonprofit, housed in a small downtown office. We have volunteers now, students, retired social workers, even a few reformed former bankers. I sold the bungalow. Too many ghosts in the walls. I bought a cozy apartment near the archive. My life is full of purpose, of dusty files and grateful tears, of court affidavits and the quiet satisfaction of justice served. Angela writes to me from prison. Her letters are halting, raw. She's in therapy. She talks about the sickness of her greed. I write back. Not as a mother to a daughter, but as one human who has witnessed profound failure to another. It's a thin thread, but I choose to keep it from snapping. Today is my 81st birthday. There is no big party, just Leo, a few close friends from the Resistance, and a simple chocolate cake from the bakery down the street. As I blow out the single candle, one for the new year, Leo insisted, I think about that night a year ago. The champagne, the knife hovering over the buttercream, the lights going out. They thought I was a problem to be solved, a weak, old woman to be managed, then stored away. They had a quiet, careful plan for my disappearance. But here's the secret they never learned. There is no force on this earth more dangerous than a grandmother who has nothing left to lose and a righteous cause to fight for. Our strength isn't in our muscles, but in our memories. Our weapon isn't force, but the relentless, patient power of truth. Angela tried to write my ending. Instead, she gave me my beginning. So to anyone out there who thinks the elderly are easy prey, who sees a sweet old lady and thinks target, I have a message for you. Look closer. We are archivists of our own lives. We see the patterns you think you invented, and we are not afraid to make a new file with your name on it. While sorting a new donation for the archive, Ellie finds a box belonging to a recently deceased veteran, Henry Hank Miller. Among his effects is a Distinguished Service Cross and a letter, unopened, from the Department of Veterans Affairs dated 1982, denying a pension claim due to insufficient evidence of injury. Ellie's research reveals Hank was entitled to significant back pay and benefits. She tracks down his only living relative, a reclusive, bitter grandson named Caleb, who wants nothing to do with the old man's junk. Ellie sees not just lost money, but a lost legacy. She makes it her mission to posthumously secure Hank's honors and owed compensation, seeing it as a different kind of elder justice, rectifying a systemic failure. Caleb Miller, skeptical and hardened by life, initially dismisses Ellie, but her tenacity and her story about her own family, betrayal, pierces his cynicism. He reveals Hank never spoke of the war, just his bitterness at the system. Together, they navigate the bureaucratic labyrinth of the VA. Their quest becomes a local human interest story, drawing positive media attention to the Frost Archive. This spotlight, however, is a double-edged sword. It legitimizes their work, but also paints a brighter target on Ellie's back for those she's helped put away. The positive press from the Miller case brings a new kind of client to the archive, a nervous middle-aged man named Daniel. He claims his aunt, a wealthy, childless widow named Beatrice, is being unduly influenced by a new spiritual advisor who is isolating her and convincing her to change her will. It smells familiar, but off. Ellie's instincts prickle. Daniel is too smooth, too eager. Leo digs deeper and finds Daniel has his own history of financial mismanagement. Ellie realizes they are being used as a pawn in a preemptive family feud. She refuses the case, warning Daniel ethically. He leaves furious. Ellie feels she's avoided a trap, but the encounter leaves her uneasy. A week later, in the dead of night, the Frost Archive's office is firebombed. The quick response of a patrolling officer, alerted by Detective Miller to keep an eye on the place, prevents total loss, but the front is scorched, and smoke damages precious, irreplaceable original documents from Walter's collection. The message is brutal and clear. The police find minimal evidence, but Ellie knows in her bones it's connected to her. Refusal of Daniel's case or a warning from the remnants of Croft's network. The attack isn't just on a building. It's on her legacy, Walter's work, and her sense of safety. For the first time, true fear, not for herself, but for the mission, takes root. In the ashes, Ellie finds an unexpected supporter, Martin Thorne, the smooth-talking lawyer who once tried to bribe her. He visits her temporary setup in a library meeting room. "I tried to warn you the game was dangerous. Mrs. Frost," he says, not unkindly. He reveals he represented some of Croft's legitimate business fronts and has since cut ties. He offers pro bono legal assistance to rebuild and incorporate properly, and more importantly, high-level connections to security firms and private investigators. "Consider it my penance," he says. Ellie is deeply suspicious, but Leo argues they need armor, not just passion. Reluctantly, she accepts Thorne's help, setting strict boundaries. The stress manifests physically. Ellie hides a dizzy spell from Leo. The constant vigilance, the grief over the damaged archives, the lingering betrayal, and now the naked violence of the attack take their toll. At a doctor's appointment, which Leo practically drags her to, she's diagnosed with hypertension and told, in no uncertain terms, to reduce stress. The irony is not lost on her. How can she stop when the work feels more urgent than ever? She has a quiet, terrifying moment of doubt. Is this how Angela saw her? As a fragile thing breaking down? The thought steals her resolve. She will not be defined by fragility. Caleb Miller, using skills Ellie suspects aren't entirely legal, digs into Daniel's background. He discovers Daniel is deeply in debt to a shadowy loan shark, not a bank. The firebombing has the marks of a collector's warning, not a white-collar criminal. Ellie realizes Daniel might be a victim too, in a more violent scheme. Separately, Thorne's PI uncovers that Beatrice's spiritual advisor is a known grifter with ties to organized crime. This isn't just elder fraud. It's a kidnapping for ransom scheme disguised as influence. Ellie goes to Detective Miller with a risky plan. Use the archive's reputation as bait. They will publicly announce they are taking on Beatrice's case to ensure her autonomous decision-making, forcing the criminals into the open. The plan is tense. Ellie, wearing a wire, arranges a meeting with Beatrice under the guise of a historical society interview. Leo and Caleb provide covert surveillance. Thorne's security team lingers nearby. Detective Miller's squad is on standby. The meeting happens at Beatrice's elegant, isolated home. The advisor, a man named Sterling, is visibly agitated by Ellie's presence. He subtly threatens her, mentioning how accidents happen to the elderly who meddle. It's all recorded. As Ellie leaves, Sterling makes a call, ordering someone to scare the old bat off for good. It's the proof they need. As Sterling's enforcers move to intercept Ellie's car on a lonely road, the police sweep in. A dramatic but controlled takedown ensues. Daniel, it turns out, was being coerced into delivering his aunt. His debt was the lever. He breaks down and provides evidence against the loan shark and the larger operation. In one fell swoop, they dismantle a violent criminal cell that preyed on the vulnerable. Beatrice is saved. Daniel enters a protection program. The press hails Ellie as a hero. This victory is different, darker, more dangerous, but unequivocally just. Ellie feels not exhilaration, but a deep, weary satisfaction, and a newfound respect for her team. Leo, the steadfast heart. Caleb, the redeemed rough edge. Even the morally ambiguous Thorne. Amid the victory, a letter arrives from Angela. It's longer, more reflective. She's been following Ellie's exploits in the prison newspaper. "You were always strong. Mama, I just told myself you were stubborn to make my own weakness feel better. I see now what real strength looks like. It's not in taking. It's in protecting, even when you've been broken. I'm so sorry I never saw that in you. I hope one day I can build something half as good," Ellie cries. For the first time in months, not tears of pain, but of release. The wound will always be there, but it's finally beginning to close cleanly. 1 year later, the Frost Archive has relocated to a new, secure, accessible building. Its grand opening is attended by donors, volunteers, Detective Miller, Martin Thorne, Caleb, now a part-time security consultant and volunteer, and a film crew from a national news show doing a segment on grassroots justice. Leo is in his second year of law school, giving a speech about his grandmother. Ellie stands at the podium, Not as a victim, a crusader, or a hero, but as a curator. Behind her is a display. Hank Miller's restored medal. A photo of Beatrice with her rescued dog. Copies of the ledgers that brought down Croft. We don't just keep records here, she tells the crowd. Her voice strong and clear. We keep promises. The promise that a life story deserves an honest ending. The promise that trust should not be a vulnerability. We are a library of conscience, and our doors are open. After the crowds leave, Ellie and Leo sit in the new archive's quiet reading room. Sunlight streaming in. The ghosts are at peace. The work continues. Proud of you, Gran, Leo says, squeezing her hand. Ellie looks around at what they've built from ashes and betrayal. She thinks of Walter, of Angela, of all the faces they've helped. We did good, kid, she says softly. We did good,